What happens when synchronicity becomes the norm? When what was once an isolated moment becomes a pattern, guiding us into resonance rather than randomness. Time is no longer something to manage. It's something to live by. And in this living rhythm, we're reminded that we're not separate. We are strands of a larger pattern, woven into a greater design. This is not the beginning of something new. It's the remembering of something ancient. Welcome to Time Informs Life. Synchronicity and the evolution of conscious communities.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and greetings to everyone out there tuning in. Welcome to the Galactic Spin Podcast. My name is Mikuak Rai, Ken 126, joined by my brother Rubén Llinás, Ken 113. In Lakesh, brother Rubén.
Alakim, brother Makua, and in Lakesh to everyone tuning in to the Galactic Spin episode 35 on this sacred path of 52 episodes to the golden intersection of timelines. So such an exciting episode because we have an earth wizard as a guest. That is, she has been a witness and a protagonist of this entire adventure of the new time, and having those two clips at the beginning is also really inspiring to see how we are in the process of doing this work, building community, connecting with new people, connecting with kin all around the world. And that's the purpose of this podcast. So happy and honored to be here as always.
Right on time. Thank you so much. And let's do a little impromptu check here. I want to make sure I'm not too loud, and maybe you speak up a little bit. And folks in the audience, check your headphones or check your speakers just to make sure your volume's where you usually would like it. And yeah, we can continue in this. Want to give thanks to everybody tapping in. Big shout out to Ishel for that beautiful opening transmission and this energy of episode 35. So many synchronicities coming through in real time, as it seems every episode before. So the ceremony continues. And also in the sacred circle, we really honor Delia Sky's contribution with those tones, the Arctara tones that you hear. Want to encourage people to visit her website and also subscribe, where you can get on her list where she'll send you the tones every day. So hearing the synchrona tones is very powerful in terms of it really tapping us into the resonant frequency of the shift, essentially the shift that we could get into the mechanics and the science of it, but rest assured it's really about resonance right now. And if we're going to put it in one focus, let's just focus on the resonance. And these tones are very much their effect is to help amplify resonance for sure and give us an anchoring into this frequency shift. And big shout out as well to Alejandra for all the efforts and support as we are, as a team, pulling this energy together in the ceremonial way. And Rubén and Alejandra both have been anchoring in the sacred grounds of Mexico, known by so many different names and tones and vibrations, the sacred motherland. And so in preparation of some of these sacred activities coming up that we're excited to talk more about and invite everybody out there listening to begin to prepare ourselves energetically in thinking about where we want to actually be to observe this once ever sacred window, this threshold window of 13 tunes since December 21st, 2012, and so many other markers lining up, intersecting in this beautiful passage of 4 or 5 days that we're really just so grateful to make conscious, actually, that people around the world can tap in or sink in and tune up, as we like to say. So anything else you'd like to add to that, please feel free, because we're obviously in preparation.
Really happy to be able to extend the invitation to everyone tuning in and resonating, like you mentioned, to this message and to what is actually transpiring on the earth. No? It's really a time to really go inside, go into our hearts, and that's what we have been really trying to do during the last 35 episodes and during the time that we have been doing this work together with you, brother. Just to invite people to really tap into their potential to shift the hologram, and by shifting their minds and their calendars. So the invitation to go to the golden intersection in Palenque, in La Camha, is now becoming more and more real, and it's exciting to feel that. It's exciting to now connect with the people who are going to open their land and their home for everyone who feel inspired to go and be with us. So thank you so much, and let's start with the show.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Let's sink in with the Earth's pulse.
And well, let's start by saying that this, we as we can see on the square, the white square at the bottom, the first day of this moon that we started, the 12th moon of the year, King 67, the blue lunar hand, we had a major coronal mass ejection, major activity of the sun, a solar flare of 8.1, and it arrived yesterday and today. So we are under a geomagnetic storm, a severe geomagnetic storm. So I hope that everyone is who are feeling it, are hydrating, and are really checking with their emotions and their nervous system, because these events can catch us by surprise. And if we are not fully conscious about them, the energy just creates these spikes. And as we can see on the next slide, we had amazing auroras yesterday at low latitudes. This is from space.com, and we had a as far south as California, New Mexico, and in the next slide we can see the map, actual map of the auroras. We can see how it really reached even Florida, Texas, and we can see also on the left side from spaceweather.com these the green, these bright greens that we're able people to see in Alberta, Canada. So these are the plasmas that we have been talking about, and these are shifting our DNA, are affecting the electromagnetic field of the Earth, and they are an opportunity for us to really connect with those energies and use them for our advantage. They really help us to process and transmute a lot of programs and all behaviors and habits that we need to let go of, and that sometimes they operate in the unconscious, and when these events come up, they pop, and we are able to make them conscious, and in that way keep transmuting and keep evolving. So we had another reflection on Earth today. Early morning, there was an eruption at Mount Etna in Sicily. So as above, so below, basically. And every time that we have these major activations of the sun, there is a corresponding response on Earth. Is either an earthquake, a volcano, or a series of small earthquakes. So this is how we start to get familiar with the dynamics of the process that is taking place on Earth. That this is all part of an ecosystem, a larger ecosystem, and the sun is really alive, and those pulses are affecting the Earth and are affecting our own biology in ways that we are only starting to discover. So just hoping and trusting that everyone in affected by this eruption are okay. We saw some videos online of the people running from the skirts of the volcano, running for their lives. But what we heard is that there was no victims, and everything is still under control, which is good to know.
Right, definitely. I wonder from people tuning in as well how they're feeling the energy that the sun is emitting at this time. Tap in, pulse check in the live chat. How have you been experiencing this wave of solar plasmic input? I guess we could call it the increase in solar transmission at this window. It's worth looking at. And as you mentioned, also a major expression, I like to say, on day one of this, crystal moon that we've now entered, and also just observing some of the other synchronicities happening in and throughout, particularly at the close of the last moon as well, the spectral moon of liberation, that it does feel like there's some freeing up occurring. As you said, some of the things that maybe no longer serve us are getting dispersed, perhaps, flushed through this effect of this incoming energy and information. So, yeah, it's also a good time to definitely go ground in the earth, because that's going to be one of the best methods to connect heaven to earth and be that bridge as a human bridge during this transition. It's also one of the ways to ensure that your body doesn't blow out from the heightened charge coming in, if you can be the grounding rod for that and really connect in with the earth. So we want to encourage that. That's why with the upcoming golden intersection of timelines, and even leading up to that, the more that we can be in the practice of earthing and of creating and of really being in more of a mindful state of being through contemplation and through observing one's breath. And as you mentioned, observing our emotions, because everything is going to get triggered right now.
Yes.
Everything is getting reconfigured as it's getting triggered. And so it's also best not to judge ourselves too harshly
Mm-hmm.
through these processes either, and know that it's very temporary and that it's just a part of the reconfiguration that's underway. It's organic. It's happening to everything, it seems, in the phenomenal creation, right? Everything's being affected by the sun.
Yes.
No matter who you are,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're going to get affected. So,
Yeah, and this has been one of the major geomagnetic storms of solar cycle 25.
so
So we need
far.
to,
So
yeah.
far, let's just pay attention. We know that there was a pause a few weeks ago, and we thought, "Oh, yeah, this is just okay. Maybe this now we're on the decrease." It's like no, we're still very much in it, and I have a sense it's going to be through the next several moons, actually. So we want to pay attention and stay tuned. And throughout the course of this summer, if you're in the north, or winter if you're in the south, really just stay close to the earth. That's the really, I think, the wise instruction. And also, as we're moving in ceremony toward the golden intersection, one of the points of emphasis for the community in Palenque is the protection of the waters.
Mhm.
So as we're connecting with the earth, we also want to be very conscious in our connection with the waters
Mhm.
and our reflection in how we are water, and water is life, and these waters are precious. And so the various ways that shows up is also, I think, a cause to celebrate and resonate in this
Yeah,
adventure.
especially because the water is a conductor of energy, and if we stay hydrated and if we are grateful to the water, we learn from the water how to flow, and how to flow with these energies that can be challenging at time. The water element is the teacher for teaching us how to do it.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I'm so grateful to see really just some amazing souls from around the planet showing up in the live chat right now in honor of this moment together. So take a snapshot, because this moment will never happen again. However, it's happening right now. So big up and salute to King Etznab Shaquan El Rey, our dear beloved brother and leader with the Indigenous Water Bank Cooperative, and also our guest this evening, Flaviah Motta. So grateful for her presence, Kin 228, resonating with us in the Galactic Spin podcast. Without further ado, let's go ahead and sink in and tune up. And as always, we like to orient ourselves in time based on the synchronometer, that is, the 13 moon 28 day synchronometer. And as we like to iterate, we're in the blue rhythmic storm year, coded by kin number 19 in this frequency. And it's a very, very special year of organization, balance, and self-catalyzation, self-generation. This energy is so profound. And if we're paying attention, we're definitely really feeling the transformation happening to and through us.
Absolutely. And as always, following the 13 moon structure as a wave spell, as a spiral, we are entering this heptad, or this week, on moon number 12, the moon of cooperation. And well, this moon, according to the 20 tablets of the law of time, as we can see on the next slide, uh, this is a fractal count where each moon equals one kin, as we can see on the left. And since we are on the 13 moon wave spell of the yellow human, let's remember that this count of one kin equals one moon started with the revelation of the 20 tablets of the law of time in 1997. And this fractal quality, we just embark on the adventure of extending it after galactic synchronization, because the 20 tablets were just tracing the path or the map from 1997 to 2013. And if you extend that map of each year, turning into a 13-unit waste bill, then we are right now on Kin 103, the blue crystal night. And as we can see on the next slide, this entire moon, we ask ourselves the question, how can I, or how can we dedicate ourselves to all that lives? So this is really an invitation. The night is the energy of abundance, dreams, and intuition. And the tone of cooperation, tone 12, is inviting us to universalize, dedicate, and cooperate. So this is really a moon where we start to really do balances and checks and balances of where we are, what have we accomplished during this entire year, and how can we create that abundance through cooperation. Because it's really, even though there is only one of us here, we are all cells of this planet and living cells. And when we cooperate in a synchronous way, in a harmonious way, miracles happen. So this entire 28 days is really an invitation to look for ways that we can create that abundance through cooperation.
I wanted to add here too, if those of you who track the synchronometer, you'll be able to note that in the cosmic moon, day 9, we arrived to Kin 103. So what's being energizing this entire moon of cooperation actually codes a new holiday or observance, we could say, regarded as International Day of Cooperatives on July 5th. This is a day acknowledged by the United Nations, acknowledged all around the world. And in particular, there's particular acknowledgement this year because it's really 13 years since the initial acknowledgement of international cooperatives was given in the year 2012. So we're in a very auspicious, sacred, and rare window to be aware of as it relates particularly to this energy of cooperation. And it is King Etznab, in fact, Kin 38, himself the white crystal mirror, who was a guest on an episode of ours previous to this, that helped bring the awareness to us of this International Day of Cooperatives, and also the fact that October this year, 2025, is International Month of Cooperatives. So the very month that we have this special sequence of days called the Golden Intersection of Timelines, and preceding that with Indigenous Peoples Day and Dia de las Razas, all of that is happening in the month started by the world communities as International Month of Cooperatives in the year of cooperatives. Yeah. If we're not getting the message at this moment, it'll be missed on us, but let's just not ignore the fact that we're being guided by, it really indicates, by all accounts, to cooperate, to unify the counts, which is one of the things that has become very evident in this work of holding both the traditional long count sequence in our consciousness, along with the galactic sequences in our consciousness, while we're also here walking through the 3D with the Gregorian calendar as its own functional day-to-day structure for the past 443 years practically. So it's just a very important thing to make conscious as we're doing this and taking this adventure together, because we're asking ourselves to really extend beyond our boundaries. We want to go beyond our boundaries. And we've come from a culture that's very individualistic. We've been conditioned to be separated. So in this frequency, in the spirit, in the intention of cooperation, that's the real amplification at this time on the planet from the world's people. Truly the fact of the matter is the indigenous people of the worlds haven't had the same type of representation as nation states in a level that allows them to have their rights protected, guarded, prioritized, right? Now we're at the phase where even in the quality of this year of the rhythmic storm, it's about the rhythmic tone of organization and balance. The scales have been balanced because the recognition of cooperatives has been around since the year 2012, though it went under the radar for most people. But let that count as the precedent for what we're now able to celebrate 13 tunes or 13 years later, deliberately, overtly. Being in Palenque for the purpose thereof is to really amplify and listen to the voices of the community there from that territory, those caretakers of the land in Palenque, in Chiapas, those closest to the earth, so that we as human family around the world can be in support of what it is that they're seeking, what it is that they're saying the earth is asking for in the territory. So this is the disposition we're inviting everybody to take as this journey, as this adventure continues to unravel. It's guiding us from the head to the heart. It's asking us to really be present in the moment. It's asking us to detox of the various layers of toxicity that we've taken on, wittingly or unwittingly, and just to be spacious and patient and present during this entire process. And just note, it's not something that's happened overnight. I would venture to say that the completion of the 13 Bach tunes in 2012 was a definitive completion, and we've been in the suspended animation for literally this past nearly 13 years, where it's been a retuning, it's been a retooling, it's been a reconfiguration. And now more and more people are emerging to the need for the shift, in the fact that we need to make the choice to disengage from the illusion. If that illusion is perpetuated by the artificial calendar, for example, that's why from the beginning of this entire ceremony, we've said we're breaking free from the zero-sum game, that static structure that's held in that Gregorian calendar. And it's so insidious and so seductive. We don't realize how it invades every aspect of our lives until we get it out of ourselves, until we literally, decidedly disengage that as an agreement. Because at the end of the day, we have choice, and we can choose to not engage. We can choose to not consent. And so as and it's not a matter of just being the rebel. It's a matter of actually shifting through empowerment and shifting in concert with others who are also mutually empowered. And that's where cooperation, that's where community comes from. That's where you stand in unity, in that frequency, in that choice, in that regard. However that shows up, however that expresses to you and through you, so.
And this moon being the energy of the blue crystal night is really beautiful, because it's the invitation to dream the abundance of working in that way, in a cooperative way. And as we can see, we are on the 4th day of this crystal moon of cooperation. This is the 45th heptad or week of the year. What we see on the left is also an added layer that we created of 52 heptads per year, equivalent to 52 kin, so that we can keep the fractality of the system from the 52 years of one new Sirius cycle to the 52 moons, which is equals to 4 years, to 52 weeks, which is 1 year. So in that way, we keep a track of the many layers that we can organize through the synchronic order, and these in this, during this way spell, because on the 260-day count, we just entered the way spell of the World Bridger. So we remember we closed the moon of liberation with the entrance to these 13-day cycles. We ended a cycle of 28 days with the first day of a 13-day cycle. And this, as we can see on the next slide, this cycle that started on on kin 66 and goes through kin 78, the white cosmic mirror, is part of a 52-day cycle that is called the white castle of crossing. And we can see the 13 days highlighted here in green. And this entire cycle on the Gregorian calendar started on, as we can see on the next slide, it started on the 29th of May and goes to the 10th of June. And as we can see on the graphic, on the infographic here, it has a lot of interesting energies in it. Really interesting is that on day 1, which was again the last day of the spectral moon, we completed 7 solkins from the current Venus-Earth pentagonal cycle. And on that day, on the long count, the ancient Maya indigenous count, it was the king Bolonic, which is associated with the first deity. One of in Palenque there are 3 deities, one being the white solar wind or Bolonic, and is associated with Venus, according to the epigrapher and archaeologist David Steward. These energies not only associated with Quetzalcoatl, but as Venus is also associated with the cycles of planet Venus. So it is really beautiful that since this the world bridger is the represents the skull, and the skull represents the bones, the ancestors, that we are connecting both counts again on this on this wasteful, on being one kin 22 and the other one kin 66, because there are 44 kin of difference right now. So those double digits really create that harmonious connection. And of course, Venus adds the layer of harmony that is really amplified by the fact that this cycle of 8 years that we started on June 3rd, 2020, let's remember that Venus has an 8-year cycle in which every 8 years, every 8 years on Earth, we complete 5 conjunctions or 5 points of union in between Venus and the Earth that create a perfect 5-pointed star. And this cycle of the world bridger is a perfect opportunity to really comprehend how the cycles connect, how the 260-day count connects with the 364-day count, and connects with the Venus cycles, which is the one synodic cycle is 584 days approximately, because it fluctuates. But those 8 years were completed first from 2004 to 2012. 2 Venus transits were the bookends of that 8-year cycle. There are 8 years from the first Venus transit in 2004. I think it was June 8th or 9th. Then the second transit was on June 5 and 6 of 2020. And then after that, we enter a new pentagram cycle of 8 years that was from 2012 to 2020. And it was on June 3rd, 2020, when we culminated that cycle with a Venus-Earth internal conjunction. And we entered this new cycle. And that means that tomorrow, June 3rd, that's why we highlighted in green those 5 days that goes from King 67 to tomorrow, King 71, the blue rhythmic monkey. Those 5 days is a 5 day synchronization period that happens every 5 years in between the galactic count of 260 days and the solar year of 365 days, or 364 plus 1 day. And we will see that highlighting in the next slides. And as we can see also on if we go back a little bit, on yesterday, June 1st, we were also completing 31 years of the discovery, another important discovery of Palenque. Let's remember that Venus is connected with the feminine energy. And yesterday we completed 31 years of the discovery of the Queen of Palenque, Lady Sakbua Hao. That discovery kind of is the second most important discovery after the discovery of the Temple of Inscriptions, of the tomb of the King Pakal Votan. So King and Queen were united by these two discoveries, and there is the part of the prophecy, and is that the two create like a whole, and one tomb, the king's tomb, was inscribed and the queen's tomb was uninscribed, and there is a mystery to be revealed of that is revealing that this uninscribed monument, which is the resting place of the queen, is really an invitation to inscribe or create the future. It is we are entering a feminine cycle after December 21st, 2012. And we have now the opportunity to really, in this cycle, which is the second, it's called the second creation, or that's what Jose Arguelles defined this cycle as the second creation after 2012. We went from the before the start of the 13th Bactun cycle, it was prehistory, then we have recorded history, and now we are in the post-history after 2012. And in the post-history, we're basically rewriting the script and dreaming the new into being. So having these events, astrological events connected to planet Venus, connected to the feminine energy, and this discovery is like the feminine energy is really creating that bridge. That is this world bridger wave spell is precisely that bridge that connects past, present, and future.
Yeah, it's also good to just remark that the wave from the last wave spell of prophecy cascades into this wave spell, yes, where the worlds are bridged. So it really, there was so much resonance in the last wave spell, particularly surrounding Pakal and the three clear signs of prophecy around his birth and his transition. And then that would give rise to this next wave spell that's clearly coded with the divine feminine through and through.
Yes.
From beginning to end. It's phenomenal. When you look at Venus, when you look at Sakbua Hao, when we look at the reflection of, as you'll probably mention with the other markers here that relate to that pentagonal cycle, you know. And for those who recognize symbolism, it's also important to note that we can see where modern institutions have adopted certain geometries and certain symbols that are actually reflections of the antiquities, though they've fashioned them to be something of a Western ideology, when in fact these are very ancient. And when I say Western, let's not get confused, because by some accounts, the instruction for the original builders was here in the so-called West. You know, and there's been a lot of disorientation and misorientation through various methods to throw people off from the case of who the original inhabitants, who the original people are, and where these instructions come from. And so when we look at the geometries tracked by the timekeepers, by those observing the passage of time through the heavens, the celestial bodies, the astronomers, then we can begin to see the patterns reflecting in the heavens and on the earth. But then how these symbols show up. I mean, for example, the order of the Eastern Star, for those who would be familiar, as we see the pentagonal cycle of Venus reflected in their iconography that they display, and that being the sort of the feminine aspect of the Masonic order. So, very interesting thing parallel there, because the masonry thing also is very elusive, it's very opaque, and obviously it's rich with a lot of conspiracy and all sorts of other layers. One thing to not miss, though, is that the so-called Masons of our modern era were also the filter through which a lot of these antiquities were confiscated and studied, and in some cases safeguarded, in other cases suppressed for various reasons. We don't want to get into speculating all of that, but just suffice to say, maybe they were kept for safekeeping, because there would be such a time when the people who were the lineages of those who left them there as time capsules would return. And so by some account, I would say we're in that time. We're in the time of return. Now, some might have said that time was in 2012. And maybe that time happened in 2012 in such a way where nobody was looking how the return was actually being orchestrated. So I am saying that we're having to shift gears, everybody. It is like a major seismic shift of paradigms happening. It's underway. But for those who are tuning in, I think you're also going to be getting that GPS, that internal guidance, positioning to know where to be and when to be there, and how to show up, showing up as ourselves. Just wanted to mention that because, again, it's that balance of the masculine in Pakal, the feminine in Sakbuahau, the mystery of what the future holds. Because, as you said, it's as yet uninscribed. It's up to us. We're collaboratively, cooperatively co-creating this right now.
Yes. And that's why it's the cycle of history is the cycle of recorded history. It was recorded it starts with the first hieroglyphs in Sumeria, and it ends with December 21st, 2012. So just to recap and unpack what this synchronization that is taking place between the cycles of Venus. On day one, we complete 7 solstices of this pentagonal cycle. Tomorrow, day 6, we complete 5 years of this pentagonal cycle. We will explore that relationship in the coming slides. And on day 9, we complete 13 years of the Venus transit, which was kind of the most important astronomical event of 2012 before the galactic alignment of December 21st, 2012. So there is a prophetic connection of having that planet connected to the archetype of Quetzalcoatl with the prophecy, with the feminine, opening the way for the new energy, for the alignment of the sun, the solstice sun, with the center of the galaxy on December 21st, 2012. And what is beautiful is that, as we can see now on the next slide, is that this is a synthesis of the cycles of Venus. Basically, we see that 5-pointed star that you mentioned. Those are the blue circle is the orbit of Venus. The red circle is the orbit of the Earth. And the 8-pointed star that we see in the background is basically the 8 years that it takes for these 5 conjunctions to take place. And these 5 conjunctions create like a perfect star, 5-pointed star, which is a symbol also connected to the divine feminine in many cultures, especially Western cultures. As you mentioned, the Masonic order took this element for their feminine order. And what we are doing here is really reinterpreting the pentagram according to the cosmology of time, in which there are 5 colors: the red, the white, the blue, the yellow, and the green, which is connected to the 5th force. So in the daily oracle, we have always 4 powers. One is the analog power to the east, the guiding power to the north, the antipode or the challenge power to the west, the occult power to the south, and in the center is where the 5th essence or the 5th force lives, which is us. And that cosmology is based on the fact that the 4 directions of space are always shifting and spinning through that synchronic force, the 5th force. It's also connected to the 5th element, the quintessence, and which is a spirit. It's a spirit that animates the forms. So this, what we see at the center is the numbers 5, 8, and 13. So there are 5 conjunctions for every 8 Earth years or orbits of the Earth around the Sun. And during that time, Venus completes 13 orbits around the Sun. So there is a perfect harmonic relationship between the 2 planets: 8 orbits of the Earth, 13 orbits of Venus, and they meet 5 times during that lapse. So what that means is that since we are completing tomorrow 5 years of that initial point, that means that we are arriving to the golden section of the current Venus pentagonal cycle tomorrow. And this 5-day window in between the completion of 7 Solkins and 5 years is part of the sacred proportions that are embedded into the synchronic order. We can see on the next slide how there is a 5-to-7 ratio, and in which every 5 years or 7 solstices takes place a 5-day synchronization period between the galactic count of 260 days and the solar lunar count of 364 plus 1 days. This is because 7 solstices of 260 days correspond exactly to the 60 moons of 28 days contained in 5 years. In mathematical terms, in numbers, it means that 260 days times 7 solstices is 1,820 days, while 364 days times 5 is also 1,820 days. This is the equivalent of, let's remember, 5 years of 13 moons each moon of 28 days. We have 5, 13, and 28. That gives us 1,820 days. And if we want to calculate the actual solar year, that's 1,825 days. But those 5 days are really the 5 days out of time that we are, that's why they are called day out of time. They are really like spaces in between the cycles that are portals. They are called the green day, actually. Many people call Galactic Freedom Day, Green Day, but they are always signaled by the color green. And these 5 days out of time contained within these 5 years serve as a connecting bridge between both cycles, and as a result, every 7 Solkin cycles, we are only 5 days away from reaching the same position on the solar count of 365 days. This allows us to experience every 5 years an almost perfect fractal of the same combined frequencies on both the galactic and solar counts. That means that the entire year 2020, when we started this cycle, it's only 5 kin different from this cycle. That's why tomorrow, that is June 3rd, is 5 kin after King 66, which was 5 years ago. So every 5 years, we have a difference of 5 kin. That's the main focus, and for those who maybe perceive this as too heavy to really absorb, we created the next couple of infographics that really allow us to perceive this in a holographic way. We have the 5-pointed star to symbolize those 5 years. Each of those structures along the 5-pointed star is 1 year, 13 months of 28 days each. And on the right side, we created the structure of the cube, which has 6 sides and plus 1 center for 7. So 7 cycles of 260 days is as we mentioned, 1,820 days, and 5 cycles of 364 days, which is basically 5 cycles of 13 moons, which add to 65, the number prior to 66 when we started this Venus cycle, equals 260 weeks. That's how the two counts and the Venus cycle really connect, by the number 260, because let's remember the morning cycle of Venus and the evening cycles, they are approximately 260 days each, and they are synchronized also with the Sirius cycle, with the emergence of the brightest star in the sky, which is Sirius. Let's remember, we have a brightest planet, which is Venus, see, within the solar system, and we have the brightest star, which is Sirius, which is outside the planetary, and is a sun, like our sun, but very, very, I think it's 10 or 20 times the size of our sun. So that's how the two cycles, the cycle of human fertility, 13 months of 28 days, and the cycle of human gestation, 260 days, synchronize every 5 years, and create. When we show these holographic models, we are looking for people to really grasp this as geometries of time that are coming together. So it's not just random numbers or difficult to ciphers that are difficult for the mind to process, but we can organize the geometries with these matrices. And as we can see on the next slide, this is another way of visualizing it, because every 260 day cycle has 5 cycles of 52 days each, which are called the castles. And in the same way that we can represent the Solkin as the 1320 matrix, we can represent it as these 5 castles, 1 red, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 yellow, and 1 green at the center, which is when the synchronization happens. That's what the green color represents. Their moments of synchronization. So we can see how the 65 moons are equivalent to 260 weeks, and that's equal to 260 days times 7, or 7 Solkins of 260 days. This is how the two work, and it's great that the Venus cycle was right on this way spell and right before the golden intersection, because this allows us to see how these sacred proportions operate through time and are really synchronizing us with a higher order, a more elegant way of perceiving reality, different to the Gregorian calendar and to the other calendars that are based on the number 12. It's always the number 13 that helps us synchronize both counts.
I think we should really marvel at the fact that this is what the ancients were doing. Like we're doing it now. We're in a way reclaiming something. We're actually recognizing these sciences and that they've been long established. I mean, the fact that they're established in stone, for God's sakes. Like, and these, I mean, you think about it now, we can't even come close to building anything like what our predecessors or the ancestors have built to the point where they stand the literal test of time. Like that means something. So the structures that were established that like time capsules are now being revealed and opened, you know, such as the consciousness is being revealed and opened, that we're actually reconnecting the memory of these codices, right? Because obviously those who've come before had long observed them, established them as fact. And now in our modern world, obviously we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of data. And at the same time, do we have any more peace? Do we have any more synchrony or harmony? I don't know. Somewhere along the lines, we're obviously missing some input that we've, you know, been, I think, sent here for those of us really coming here in purpose and service. We're here to help reconnect the meaning to these patterns, to these codices, perhaps.
Yeah, and in the next slide, we simply mapped this current cycle that started on 1966, 7 Solkins 5 years ago. It started with the first conjunction on June 3rd, 2020, Kin 66. And as we can see, the fourth conjunction took place on Kin 259, right before closing Solkin cycle 53. And that means that we are synchronizing again with the 260-day cycle. And what the next conjunction is going to take place precisely on the 24th of October of 2026. And we will complete that 5-pointed star, or at least the 5 conjunctions, until it goes back to the origin and we start anew. So what is happening here is really interesting, because that green cycle that we have been emphasizing, the color green synchronization, will start with a conjunction on Kin 59, which was July 26, 2012. That was the actual year bearer that gave us the entrance into December 21st, 2012. And that means that from that point of the emergence of Sirius right before the sun on July 26, 2012, to that conjunction, that meeting point between Venus and the Earth, there are exactly 5,200 days, which is the equivalent of 20 Solkins, a perfect matrix of 20 Solkins, from the emergence of the brightest star in the horizon right before the sun, announcing a new galactic year, to the conjunction that closes this 5-pointed star. That means that there is as I mentioned before, a higher order operating behind, and that cycle, that 5th conjunction, will end on May 31st, as we can see, where is the green star on top of 2028. So remember, we are completing tomorrow 5 years of this pentagram. There are 3 more years to go to the year 2028, and that pentagram is going to close on May 31st, which is basically the same signature as this coming day out of time. That's how that Venus cycle is connecting with the the window of Day Out of Time and Galactic New Year of 2012, and the window of Day Out of Time and a new galactic year in this year 2025, 13 years after 2012. That's why it's so important, because this synchronization is taking 13 years, Earth years. And we are measuring what we do here at the Harmonic Factor is really measure the different expressions of that ratio 5, 8, 13.
Exactly.
And that means that the next Venus cycle that starts on June 1st, on a day like yesterday, and synchronizing with the discovery in Palenque, is going to be commanded by the Yellow Resonant Star, King 124. We can see on the next slide, we mapped really 5 cycles of Venus, 5 pentagrams to keep the 5 structure, the fractal structure. So the 2012 to 2020 Venus cycle, that 8-year cycle, was the first day was the red solar moon. Then we have the 2020 to 2028 Venus cycle that opened with the signature that opened this wave spell, the white magnetic ball bridger. And then the next cycle, the blue cycle, starts on King 124, the yellow resonant seed, which is the signature of the next year. So the energy of the entire new Sirius cycle that starts July 26, 2025, it's connecting with the starting point of the new Sirius cycle. Both Venus and Sirius are connected. This is going to take place 4 solstices after the coming July 26. 4 solstices after that, we have the start of this new pentagram. That's, as we can see on the last slide, that pentagram is going to be the blue cycle and starts on June 1st, 2028, and will go to the year 2036. And there is, as I mentioned before, a synchronization between the brightest star, that is Sirius, and the brightest planet, that is Venus, right on that day. We are just able to see this in advance thanks to the fractal qualities of the synchronic order.
And that date in the future, again, where these two will align, is, give us the date again.
Yeah, the June 1st.
June 1st.
They like yesterday.
Right. In 2028.
In 2028.
So let's also reflect that when we did initially in 2016, so people can track with us, we released on October 14th the Counter Referendum Initiative 2020. And then when we arrived to the year 2020 and we were guided to initiate the Harmonic Factor, we recharacterized the Counter Referendum Initiative and gave it the year 2028. Now, I just want to point to the fact that that synchronicity between the Venus and Sirius points of orientation were the grounding for actually anchoring the new 8-year cycle for raising awareness about the calendar change. That was a new backdrop by which we actually forecast the calendar change into the future.
Yeah.
I just want to make that conscious for folks as well.
Without having made this conscious, really. It was just like, as we move in time, these synchronizations start to reveal the why we do it.
And the support that's like all somehow framed or containing it. Yeah. Yes. So beautiful. Honestly, so beautiful. I put a link in the chat for those that want to visit our sister website to learn more about these Venus cycles, venuscalendar.org. There is a lot of this information. Some of the graphics you're seeing now are not on the website because these are custom to the moment. Some of this is very new information, even as of the past 48 hours. But that's just really how this is happening. So thank you for everybody out there tapping in, tuning in, staying tuned, as our dear brother Rubén 113 guides us to greater comprehension and coherence so we can take advantage of this alignment time. Really and truly, like as we align with Earth, as we align with these cycles, as we align with each other, and we join this emerging symphonic energy that's happening, it's really, really a beautiful tapestry. So
we align in resonance, and the seventh tone, which is that seventh seed, is that resonant tone, and this is beautiful also because the next year, the day out of time of the Yellow Resonant Seed year is going to be the Yellow Resonant Star, which is our guest tonight. We pre-recorded just a few hours ago because it is late in Brazil, in Patagonia actually, where she is right now. So this is a beautiful time is art moment when we can connect the energy of the in resonance, the energy of the coming year, of the coming galactic year, and the coming day out of time of that galactic year.
absolutely. So without further ado, let's get to this wonderful conversation that we had earlier in this kin with our beloved sister, Kin 228, Flaviah Motta. Thank you so much for everybody out there tuning in with the Galactic Spin Podcast.
So we are today really grateful to have Flaviah Motta, Kin 228, Yellow Resonant Star, as our special guest. We are starting the Moon of Cooperation, and we are in the wayspell of the World Bridger. So this is going to be an exciting conversation about how to build community, how to build those bridges between the people who are in the frequency, in the 1320 frequency, or maybe those who are not in the 1320 frequency and want to learn more about what is the community living. So such an honor to have you, Flaviah, today on this White Overtone Dog Day, and please let us know where you are and what is your vision for this year.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I am also very excited and looking forward to have this conversation in English. Well, I'm Brazilian. I live in Argentina, in Patagonia, Argentina, for 25 years. Right now, we are almost in the winter time, and I am in Patagonia, but I'm reaching to Brazil pretty soon. And I'm very happy to be here talking to you today. Thank you.
Yeah, and share with us a little bit about more who you are, your story. How did you enter the synchronic order? What inspired you to be the one of the initiators of the 13 Moon Calendar Change Peace Movement, and what is still inspiring you as a resonant star?
Okay, this is a long story, but I'm very excited to share.
Okay, I was born in Brazil, and I was prepared like to be in the corporate life and travel, and I study international commerce, and I was kind of being prepared to go that way. But inside myself, I knew something else was there. Like I knew it. I knew it. As it's not possible that life is only this. I enjoyed a lot this life in the corporate area and all the things I learned in working for big companies and traveling and international commerce. I loved this, but I knew inside myself that something else was there. And then I started to look. Oh, what is my real mission in this and I started to look, and I was 22 years old, and somebody I went to read my astrology map, like my birth chart, and the astrologist told me, oh, you will be very good on this commercial international business, but you made a choice before coming here, and it needs to work with the heel of the planet. In that moment, I didn't know what the heel of the planet was, or I had no idea what all these chakras, nothing. But it was so inside of me, it was so profound. And I said, oh, I have to find out what is this. So I started to go to different places and I do different activations. I started to meditation, different. At that moment, there was no internet, so everything was other time. Oh, it's slow, so you had to go personally to a place and meet. And then there was a year 95 year lunar moon, and I decided to do the Santiago path in Spain. I don't know if you know this. This is a place you go for pilgrimage. And I decided to do this to find the mission of my life. So I did all this pilgrimage, 800 and something kilometers. I did it with some other people, half by bus and half walking and praying and going to church and meditating. And so I was going to this really, I want to find out my mission, and nothing happened. And then we arrived in Santiago at July 25th of year 95. And it was the day out of time. And somebody that was traveling with me, she was magnetic hand. She told me, today is the day out of time. And then my mind, I remember the feeling. I don't remember the words. She said nothing. I just remembered I looked, and she told me, the different calendar, my key, and she said many things, but at that moment only resonates something that I never heard before, but at the same time, it was so profound that I stopped, like my pling, pling, pling. And the day after was the New Year Electric Wizard, the third year of the prophecy. And we did like another pilgrimage and an initiation. I had my sword to I don't know. So and then I accepted it, like in a ceremony, that my path, and I said I found, but I didn't know what it was. So I remember I went back to Sao Paulo, no internet, and I started to look somebody to teach me about this calendar, something about calendar. The only word I remember was Skywalker. She said something Skywalker because that day was the Skywalker day. And I was I was looking for this information about the new calendar. And then one day, and talking to a friend of mine, lunar moon, lunar hand, I told him, oh, I'm looking for something about the new calendar. And he said, I know someone. I will introduce my friend. He knows this and he talks about this all the time. And this guy was Overton Dog the day today. And then a few days later, I met this guy. This guy was like crazy guy talking about this information. He was a doctor, a medical student, but he was talking about this, and he knew a lot of things. He knew 20 tablets, Telectono. He knew Ring Project. He knew already many things. So I was fascinated, and I started to connect, and found I am Resonant Star, and that day was Resonant Star Day. And yeah, it's beautiful. And then I started to follow without knowing. At that moment there was almost no information. There was internet already, some Randy Brunner's page. He had this first Earth Ascending page, but it was a language that I didn't understand the terms, but I knew all these draws, and for me it was so beautiful moment. And then I started to look every day. That's what I did in that first moment. And I learned how to calculate the kin without looking the galactic compass, just like mathematics. And I started to follow this, like and I started to remember. It was so incredible because I was working for this big company, and everything was the Gregorian calendar. I had like a position. I had to meet different companies and places, and I was totally living in two worlds. But at the same time, I was very excited and I was learning very fast. And then in '99, Valun Votan called. He at that moment he would send some emails like Ring projects, and in these emails there was some information and also whatever he had to talk, like we had today the newsletter. And then he invited for this peace and time summit in Costa Rica. So I went to my boss and I said, I have to go to a congress and you have to let me go. So I went. I took like 10 days vacation to go to Costa Rica. I had a very good boss at that moment because he knew I was prepared for something. I don't know. He was very good for me because I was coming always with these crazy things, telling him I will leave everything because my life is dedicated to something else. And he said, okay, Flavia, go there, go see, and then you come back. And so he was used for me to say things like this. I have to travel, or I have to go meditation. And he let me. So I went to the Costa Rica thing. And I thought at that moment it was a king gathering because I didn't understand it was a summit for changing calendar. I understood it was a king gathering and everybody there was kin and they were following the synchron. And there was so amazing people because there was this all indigenous representatives from everywhere, priests, wizards from Russia, alchemists, Pacific people who from different movements, artists. It was writers. It was so amazing. And I said, wow, this is people 13 Moon. I wanted these people to be in my life. So at that moment, I just thought that. And I participated, and I went to we made like 7 commissions, and he did the first. He threw the first social organization based on the 7 different commissions. And it made very much sense for me. We prepared the document for the Vatican, for the Arab world, for the ONU, and United Nations, no? And I came back, and then that day, the last day, I found out there was this call for the 7 weeks Earth Wizard seminar in Peking. And of course, I said, I am going to be there. So I came back. I told my boss, I have to go for a trip of 2 moon. But for that, I want to quit because I don't want to have to come back and do anything if this will be part of my new life. And they made everything for me to not quit, but I quit And I said, I will be in a sabbatical for 1 year, and then if I want to come back, I can come back. So for them, I was on sabbatical, and for me, I knew there will be a change. And then I went to Picar. And there was where and when I really got to understand what this information is all about, because it's not about adding codes, doing wave spell and numbers, and all the time be thinking about, oh, this is all information, precious information, and necessary for navigating. But the message of Valum Votan was that we have to make this like a root. We have to root this, because we really have to be not only theoretic information, but we have to organize ourselves in time and use all these tools to change the mind, the consciousness mind of a planet. And we have to experiment how to live in the correct time. So Picar was an experiment to live in the correct time for 7 weeks. It was a retreatment. We should not leave the place. And it was so incredible how every week things would getting better. First week we were all disorganized and too much talk, and everybody wanted to show something they knew how to do, and we were loud. And then every week we would be coming more and more in time. So this was a real experiment. In the second week, he introduced the Earth family and how to organize ourselves in Earth family. Was the first introduction, and then we were one wave spell or two like this, and then he introduced later the color root races, and these are the two movements that creates a dynamic for our mind to work on time through the pulsars. And by that time, I was blowed my mind already because I said, I have no job. I have no life to go back, because I already had put everything in boxes and send it to my mom's house. And I like the new future. I didn't know how it was, but I knew this was something that we really should experiment in real life. Not to do a place where we do a course for 1 week and then everybody goes back to the 1260. This for me was clear, and this was the message for Votan. He said, we need to make this real. Produce our food, take care of our mind, meditate, and put all these codes to operate consciously. I missed this word, but then. So I was very excited, and we are very excited. So we decided to make a caravan. At that time, Anibal, he arrived in Picarquim with 2 other guys, and he already was doing like a caravan. He had 2 buses, and they were traveling, and they were living already this. They had this bus, and they were living in a beach, and they were teaching the 13 moon with his friends in a bus. And I was with another guy and saying, oh, we have to buy a bus and we will do a caravan. Because in that, there was one moment that Valum Votan said, you have 2 options. Or you do caravan and spread this information, or you will do gardens to grow your food and live by the earth families, so the people from the caravan can go. They gave these 2 options. So I was 30 and I said, oh, I want a caravan. I don't want to be in a garden, because I want to have fun and travel, all this. So we went to the caravan. So it was our first experience. Then we made a group. We put many buses together, and then we decided to go to Patagonia to make a meditation for the Rainbow Bridge, July 25th of 2000. Resonant mirror. It was the first ejection for the Rainbow Bridge. So we made all our efforts to put the buses and call people and do this hike in a ice mountain for 9 hours to be there and eject the Rainbow Bridge. And it was another fantastic initiation. And our plan was do the meditation and go back to Brazil because we want to have fun in a hot place. And then we came back from the mountain and we saw that outside the world was the same. And we were so sure that everything would be changed. And then started our processes of learning how to live in communities. So we had this first experience, and I can tell you it's a little disaster because we didn't know anything about community or life or planting food or nothing. We knew about this information and we had the heart to open many hearts and a passion, very important to co-create things because we made many mistakes, but we had a passion so strongly that we made many miracles that year. Then we went to this little place called El Bolson. Many hippie people. It's like a Mount Shasta place. Many people there were already in the new age stuff and growing their food and had their experiment communities. And then we started our first year was in the caravan in this place, and we were teaching and learning. And then Valum Vontan came to visit us. And then he said, very good, the caravan, but somebody will have to make a garden because we need a garden in Patagonia. And all the guys looked at me and said, you are the one, choose. Because so I'm making the story short, everybody went to Brazil and I stayed here. And then I met Pablo, which is the father of my kids, and Pablo Galactic Knight. He had a land. And he said, okay, let's do here. So he had a land, and we decided to make it what we called experiment of this garden, because it was never a community. It was also always an experiment because we didn't know anything about communities. And we knew the experiment was to live informed by time and do this experiment on time with the earth families, the root races, all the technology that was informing by Valum Votan. That moment there was no synchronotron or synchrogalactic yoga. There was other practices, or the cubes and the runes, all this practices, the first stage practices. And then there was nothing. We had only one house and nothing else, and no money and anything. So we decided to stay and start and prepare ourselves. And so the first year we just went there, and we would do earth family, the cubes and all the practices every day. And if people comes, we experiment whatever we were doing. At that beginning was that's how we were doing our first garden. So I got pregnant. So then I had my first kid, Pakal, in that first year. And there was a big fire that burned everything, but didn't burn the house. And then we started, and people started to come, and the word started to spread, and people started to come here, and then we were learning. So every year for us was a new year to learn something: how to receive people, how to stay with people, how to contain the people that are transforming themselves, how are us, to transform with this information. How So we were refining every year and going through different processes and refining and learning how to do these works. But what I can say, well, we could experiment so many miracles because we had this daily practices and work and doing gardens and all and building houses. It was a extensive experience, and we were learning, and this was magical. We had many processes and many things that can happen when you decided to live with other people. But the first thing we informed people when they come is this is an experiment in time. It's the most important thing. All the other things are second place. And so we made some dynamics to make this work. And so it's a long experience, but I'm happy to share.
Thank you so much. I love this story, and I feel that each one of us has this magical entrance to the synchronic order, and we feel really inspired to bring this new wisdom to more people. So grounding it in a community, I think, is just next level. So we really honor you for having done that experiment, and if you can share with us a little bit of those miracles. Like I heard from some people who went also to the seminar in Chile, the 7 weeks, that we were really creating rainbows on an everyday basis based on the Rainbow Bridge meditation. How was that process, and how did that transform your outlook on life and what is possible?
Okay, after the fourth, fifth year, that we took like a form, we understand the form of this and how it would work, and then we implemented this rhythm with the morning meditation. We had a fire fired by Oscar Tinajero that never went off for all these years, because we would keep the fire no matter what, to take into the houses, going back. So Oscarito would come every year for us to renew and train us in ceremonies and all these things. And so after the fifth year, we were like pretty well trained in the dynamics. So we had these morning meditations. Then we had the Earth family would also. The Earth family was responsible for to the food, to maintain the order in the kitchen, and to prepare bread and all the food for all the day. And the root races were responsible for outside activities. For example, bringing wood for the fire, cleaning the dry bathrooms, or doing activities in the gardens. It was like coordinated by the root race for the day. So we had these two movements in 3D, but in 4D, both the two groups, they had, before starting the day, to pulse. So we do the meditation in the morning, and we do all the cubes and everything. And then we had breakfast, and then we would pulse. And the pulsar was, we had this big wave spell. We would sit around and have crystal in the magnetic, overtone, solar, and cosmic. And if there was some people new, we would explain a little and then meditate. We invented many ways to pulse. But the Earth family should pulse on overtone pulsar before starting to cook. So before they start to cook, they should get together and pulse. And in the wave spell, what they're doing, rah, rah, rah. And then the creativity comes through this pulsar. And the root races also. They have to go do the tipi and do their pulsar. And then after breakfast, we go together with all the people that were there, and we did the pulsar with everybody, and with singing and dancing. So people didn't understand anything, but they were doing something that was very energetical. So and then we read everything and all the readings and all this, all everything. The most important, like half of the morning, was this practices reading and pulsar. And so if you do this every day in a group of people, every day, everything you're doing, you're thinking about what you are pulsing today. Everything that happens outside go through this lens of this pulsar thing. So sometimes there was going having, for example, a fire somewhere, because we live in a woods, so every year fire burns everything. And we would sit and pulse and dissolve the fire, or dissolve any crisis, or we needed to co-create something. We needed this, and we pulse for these things to appear. And so many times we saw this kind of miracle. We saw the Rainbow Bridge many times. Rainbows were like, my kids, they grow up. Every time there was a rainbow, they were screaming, "Ah, everybody!" And so for them was the most excited event. They grew up like this. They grew up. They didn't know there was Gregorian calendar until they were 8. They didn't know people outside would live differently. They would go to my mom's house in Brazil and see, oh, their Christmas. They thought Christmas was something that my mom does for them. For example, so they had a very alive outside for until we could, and then okay, it was mixed. But there were all these practices, and the kids would look. We pulsing, and they would pulse, and I don't know, so many times healing through the pulsars, uh, giving birth, because we had the 16 kids born in there. So we would do pulsar for the kids to come, and so many things. And you see the movement. I'll say, oh, we need blue people. We have no blue, and suddenly 5 blue guys arriving. It's okay, blue princes. We say. Sometimes we're like this. So just think and co-create and pulse, and a lot of refining, because what happened is we know we are in Earth living on a telecton on board, right? So all the aspects of the Saturn and the seed and the Maubec and Mars would appear in our daily lives and challenge us to resolve it. So we had many issues with those, and we would dissolve these impulsors, or we would talk about through the codes and resolve this. So we had many situations that if you look from outside, you say, oh, these guys are crazy. But if we were doing something with this, we were operating this through the codes and through the pulsars, and it was very magical, and it made the transformation. Some people could, and some people could not handle it, and many people came and went. We were not. We were. There was a summer when Valun Votan came to visit us for the second time. Then he came to visit us in the garden in the year magnetic moon. And by that time, we were like 36 people living and then receiving many other people. It was some summers we were so many because people wanted to experiment these crazy things. 13 moon, we had this, but we had some dynamics like you come in for 13 days, you cannot leave for 13 days. If you leave, you cannot come back, or you can leave but you cannot come back only after 1 year. If you decide to stay, you have to stay for 13 moon. If you leave, you cannot come back only 13 moon later. Because we have to anchor for 13 moon. This is the time. You cannot start anything if you don't do 13 moon of that thing. Conscience of the spring, of the summer, the winter, the station, the moon, how to go, the earth, how the seeds plant, all the seasons to do the food and all this. It's you learn when you stay in a place for this minimum time. So we had all these dynamics that was a kind of a filter, and also was good because we were every 13 moon we would see how we were, it was very exciting. And then when Valun Votan came, I showed him we already had this how you say, I don't remember. Yeah, we had already this talking about the crest center, the idea of the center where we train people to go to their places and reproduce this. So when he came, we had this conversation that we were rooting something. Nobody else was doing that way. So we had many mistakes, and I don't know. Think some people didn't like the way we do because we were very radical because we were root, not radical because we just because we had to leave something really. That was a believing thing. And then when he came with the crests in a he sent the first was a message how it would be the crest center, the 13 points and all the instructions to make one and all the practice. We already were doing more than half of those practices every day. Many times we would, but that time we had this exercise of sending the ray to the north and receiving from the north. We had this ring exercise. So every time we would do an exercise, we were sending it directly to Votan, and we were receiving from him. So we would receive many instructions directly on telepathy, and it was confirmed many times by our conversations and when reading things or things that he writes. So for us, we were very sure that we were doing the best we can for that moment, and that we had to improve in a lot of other things.
This is remarkable, just to hear you recount your experiences and the experiments that you all grounded, these precedents that you set. So just thank you so much for sharing with us. And I think you're really illuminating some things as we hear people talk about communities and the need for communities, right? It's not such a romantic situation as much as it's a realistic thing. And without order, you have mayhem. It's a very messy situation. So the beauty of what you're sharing is how these codes actually create the type of dynamic order within the context of a community of people who are committed to those tenets, committed to the practice. And obviously everybody has to be committed and rooted within themselves to contribute to the whole. But it's such a wonderful thing to hear you reflect on that direct lived experience that you've had, because many people have been introduced to this information in ways, and they'll take bits and pieces, but to actually integrate it as a whole system, the way you have actually experienced, I think is really the the high mark for how this information is designed to be lived. You know, it's a truly rooted thing. And so just to hear you share from your own experience is, I think, profound. And in a sense, I also see that you've been a way shower, because what you and others like yourself in this timekeeping effort have been doing is opening the panorama of what's possible. When we do get the proper information, when we do get the right knowledge, you know, because society is going to order itself, but, you know, currently society's ordered not necessarily around the correct knowledge. It's ordered around a fiction. That's a different story. Whereas what you all have endeavored to do, and, you know, I also would love to hear more about as you look forward, because obviously with this lived experience, everything runs in waves. So perhaps the wave of that experiment ran a certain course, and then there's been sort of offshoots into other necessary focal points or endeavors to gather more information to bring back to the next wave. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about where you're seeing the coming wave, because what you've done in the beginning is just setting a whole new precedent, and what may be coming out from within. I'd love to hear where that's resonating with you for now into the future. You're still muted there, by the way.
Hello. Hi. Okay.
Hey, yeah.
Everything we did by that time, we were thinking about December 21st of 2012. And we knew the experiment would go until the end of the year, Resonant Storm. This was the dates we put for the experiment, for the place we were, because we were in a borrowed place from I don't know, the father of my kids, Galactic Night, and we were open to that form of the experiment by that time. So that experiment had a time to finish, and it was by the end of Resonant Storm year, before the galactic synchronization. So we knew that. So we were doing everything for that point, and we in whole completely for that time. When it came and we finished, we received, the last person we received was on the storm wave spell. He was a monkey, cosmic monkey, completing his 52 year. And he was the last person we opened the house for. And then was like, wow, now Flavia, I was entering in my cosmic year, like a cosmic Skywalker, and I knew it was something that was going to finish. So we ended the garden for that time. And I entered on mirror wave spell, my magnetic year. I went to Brazil. That same year, I went to meet the Red Queen in Brazil. That same year, André was opening his place, or dreaming about the place he has today. And we went to Cordoba to a meeting with other experiments. By that time, there was also this place in Cordoba that were pretty much the same as Epugene. They had a different approach, but they were totally in the experiment at the same time, living Earth family, the root races, and many places were like sprouting because they had this experience in Epugene. Or we were like 5 places, so we had this meeting. And what is next? That was the question. What is next? And there was something that I was a word that was always coming to me, was like the galactic city. I said, I want to live only like this. I don't see a life without this kind of life for me. But then at that moment, I had no technological skills. And I went to a place for a wave spell for a house of somebody. And she told me, no, you have to go to internet to tell your experience because people need to know. And then in this meeting with the Red Queen in Brazil, they said, oh, you should write a book. You should open a YouTube channel. You should tell this experience to people. So at the first, I was thinking I was open a channel, and I said, okay, I have to be open for what is the next stage. I don't know what's going to be the next stage. And I knew it should be something beyond the experience of Epugene. And I never let this the Crest Center project didn't happen, because in my opinion it did happen, a little seed of the project itself. So I started to envision a next step called the Galactic City, but it is not a city. Please, I call this, but it's not like city. This name came because I was back in Patagonia, in this place I live today, and I was looking the mountain, and I slept. In one of these days I fell asleep. I had a dream with Valum Votan, and he got my hand and he took me to a walk in the river here, because I have a river here in backyard. So he took me to a walk, and suddenly he showed me it all telepathically, and he did this with his hand, like showing me something, and it appears a galactic city, like a place, cosmic place, beautiful people, bright people, like shining, all light. And he looked at me, he said, it was always here, the Galactic City. So he said this, and I got this name from this dream. But I'm sure it's not going to be a city, but I mean it has to be a place that all the ones that are decided to make this difference in the planetary mind, in the shift of the consciousness, in the ejection of the Rainbow Bridge and the noosphere, and people that really believe these codes are being recorded and being downloaded by the Cybank and all this information we study, we have to do something with this. And the other thing that Valum remembered me when he came to visit us is, I don't know, this book called The Chronics of Art Planet. You know this book?
Yes, we do.
You there?
Yes, we do.
Okay. In this book, the last battle happens in Patagonia.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, it was written much, I don't know which year, before everything. And so when he came here, the last thing he told me was, see you in Australia. And and remember, the last battle is in Patagonia. So we had many shares about this last battle being in Patagonia, where the Rainbow Bridge is ejected. And I don't know if you remember how it's described. The place is like a desert, where the planetary art goes and gather, and they prepare themselves to eject the Rainbow Bridge. In this experiment they made, in this, the last battle is in Patagonia. So he told me this last battle is in Patagonia. And then when I was put in Patagonia, I never really wanted to be in Patagonia, and decided. And so I envisioned this, never let me forget the real mission to eject the Rainbow Bridge with a group of people and to embody this information outside um, the internet, outside our independent, each one doing your work. But it's the truth that we have to activate this telepathic um, uh, this telepathic field with this information, and we have to be synchronized, and we have to be also taking care of our own karma and transforming ourselves, because we have to be responsible for our thoughts, for our actions, for whatever we plant, so in that moment I understood that internet would be for this, to prepare these people to this further experiment of this galactic city, or this place where the last battle is going to happen. So for I now I am in my year, a spectral year, and I'm living in King 128 spectral star. So it's spectral. It means it's finishing this 13-year cycle without being with people, doing experiment with people in a land. So I know this is coming back, and I'm really understood also that this first step of 13 years of the garden project was a preparation was like a preparation to be in a future experiment again with people more prepared. But I needed still the skills of the technology that I didn't have at that moment. So these 13 years for me was this experiment of technology and doing the activations and meditations, and also using this, because also if you go to Arturo's probe, there's also a place that's called, that we have to learn how to use the they don't say internet, but they say the computer thing, as I don't know how to say it in English.
Like a landing pad.
A landing to eject the Rainbow Bridge. They say the Manitou, planetary Manitou.
Yes.
So this was also a message for me, that I had to go through internet and do all the activations and things I do through here. But it is also a moment, and I'm feeling that something is coming back about these projects. And then these days I found this. Can you see?
Yeah, back it up a little bit so we can see the fuller thing. But yeah, wow.
This we made this at the time of the garden. There was a guy that came, and he wanted to be 13 days, and I said, what do you have? And he said, I have no money, but I can draw. And then so I told him, draw me this. So I asked him to draw this. So he spent the 13 days with us in the community, and he was doing all these draws, beautiful. And so I have this. So this is helping me to keep the vision for a place. And I didn't know where is this place, but I remember the last battle is in Patagonia. So last wave spell, I went to a place, very beautiful place, and looks like this. And I'm pretty sure something is going to happen there. So just pulsing. If we can sometime next year have like a garden or a gather or something, because next year we have this 13 years of December 21st, 2012. And it is going to be on the dragon wave spell. So I got very inspired to this. Then I came back to Epugene and I said, I don't know, I'm going to call this, but I think yes. So keep waiting something, but I think we should have this a gather there to start to create the real crest center, a crest center to really do the work that we were prepared to do. So this is something I'm envisioning for next stage. I'm going to be Crystal Skywalker, and this is my pulse for the next stage. I think we should. Not everybody will do, but those who are ready, to put seriously in a land and start to create a reality in growing food. Still, we will need growing food is necessary. And be with people, sharing time, because we can share many things, but share time is precious and is difficult.
Yeah,
Especially nowadays.
it's both.
It's difficult, but it's something that we can envision, and every time we get together with kin and we propose ourselves to have an experience. Many times I've done this in other places, and it's always I feel people need this experience, because we need to share. We went to Mexico with the Red Queen a few years ago, and we made a pulse in that moment, which was before the pandemic, and it was very strong experience. And I feel we should get together again
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
And so if I make a call, I don't know, but you guys have to find a way to come.
Of course.
We will love to heed the call. We'll answer the call.
And actually,
Or do it in other place at the same time.
At the same time.
But this experience of preparing people to live together in time,
Yes.
I know it's something that I've been prepared to, and I like to do it. I love to do it. So it's, I feel this energy coming back again.
It's in waves. It's a beautiful thing, and absolutely right. Whether we're at some other location, tapped in telepathically with what's happening in Patagonia, I mean, that's really, I think, the mission of the moment now is to enliven and encourage and activate people to get into nature, to return to earth in the various ways. Start the garden they always wanted to start, begin it with other people. Garden culture community was always the pulse from the movement, is to really move in that direction.
Yeah.
So what you all did and the groundwork you've laid are the preparatory steps. So I think that that's exactly right in terms of that wave. And now we're here on a new wave. And as you know, our podcast is focused around also this node of harmony, sort of an initiatory node in the process, with reaching 13 tunes completed since Kin 207, December 21st, 2012. And what's also interesting is the three of us together make Kin 207 on the call right now.
Yes.
So I just say that as a little bit of a seed marker to say, yes, keep going. Great job. Like, keep the pulse, keep pulsing, as you're saying. And we've been endeavoring to also help people become more aware of the pulsar technology, of the overtone pulsars. But just to hear your description of how it's applied in community is invaluable, because I could see what you all were doing, sitting in the wave spell formation, telepathically pulsing, energetically pulsing with each other, while also knowing that you're connecting with that technology, the Manitou of the earth itself.
Yeah.
And so this is very real. For those that this is going to be very new to many people, because we have different people from different walks of life tuning in to the podcast. Though I want to really just encourage people to continue to do your research. Some of the terms you've heard about today in this conversation, continue to research, because people like yourself have been opening the way for decades. And these things happen in waves. And so we know that this golden intersection of timelines represents another such cresting wave. And that's why here we are in this beautiful synchrony of this moment, having this conversation. So I'm overjoyed, because this is running parallel to real conversations we're having right now about returning to Earth and really synchronizing in the land. And as you also mentioned, each of us have had to come out here and ride this wave of proto-telepathy for the past 13 years, because it is the de facto method of getting the people together. But it was always meant to just simply be a tool to bridge back to the Earth. So the proto-telepathy, the training wheels for us to regain our consciousness, to remember that we do have telepathy. It's actually our first language. It's our universal first language.
Yes.
And so we're just overjoyed at being at this turn of the spiral with you and all that you've been anchoring in the Southern Hemisphere. And I know we're in the monkey zone, up here in Turtle Island, North America, and Mexico, and in that angle of the overall family, the Earth families, and just doing our part to anchor in the North, and so this is, and we look very much to being able to set foot on the ground in Patagonia as well, and to make that direct 3D connection, in the physical as well, should it be the design of the cosmos to be so. But we're excited for everything that you've done, that you've been doing, and that you continue to do.
Yes, and I want to also to extend the invitation to Flaviah to come together with us to Palenque to anchor this important milestone, because these 13 tunes that we are closing on October 14th, Kin 204, the Yellow Solar Star, Solar Seed. It's a bridge towards the 13 years of December 21st, 2012. And that 13th tune also marks the closing of 18 Solkins from December 21st, 2012. So we really felt it's important to come back to the origin, go back to Palenque, and anchor again the energy of the shift that took place on December 21st, 2012. The event is going to go actually from Kin 200 to Kin 207, and in that way bridge that entire gap of 13, a wave of 13 tunes that connects to the wave spell of 13 solar orbits that we complete on December 21st, 2012. So it would be amazing to have more people from the South to come with us. It's been an open invitation. It's coming from the heart. It's really a call that we felt, and that we are honored to share with more people who feel the call, and we have also the honor to have local indigenous people opening the land for us and want to collaborate with us. So it's a beautiful opportunity to come together, like you mentioned, share time, share ideas, share inspiration, and weave that planetary grid that we have been weaving, but giving it another stitch, an important stitch in time, during the opening of all these cycles that we are celebrating. We will have one entire week or heptad just to really honor Indigenous Peoples Days and the encounter of the cultures on October 12th, and then October 13th we will bridge to the future, to the end of the big tune 4772, that 7 dynasties of Timeship Earth that will complete on the 20th back tune. And then October 14th we will honor the completing of those 13 tunes, and on October 15th we will really celebrate as another day out of time the closing of this stage of the Gregorian calendar. That was also an experiment for humanity, to be enclosed by this artificial timing system and to pulse that intention of creating the new. On that same moment that the Gregorian calendar was established, just send the counteracting wave, the neutralizing wave from Palenque, so that more people and more human beings around the planet feel that new vibration and that the new possibilities that are available when we just break from the barrier of artificial time and the 1260 matrix. So I have to give thanks to Flaviah for accepting the invitation and for keeping with the line for all these many that we have the honor to speak back in 2017, 2018. I saw the interview that you sent me, and we were a little younger, but we still have the same passion and the same devotion.
Yeah. I saw. Oh, I look forward. When you have more details, you send me and we can pulse.
Yes.
We can pulse. I'm going back to Brazil now for the winter, and after the I think in magnetic moon or lunar moon, I will be coming back to Patagonia.
Yes.
And I probably will be going to this place to see. So this is the pulse, and if there's to be going to Palenque, is one of the places that I love to be is there also. So let's pulse.
Let's pulse.
And in a few days, we will be talking. We will interview Rubén in my channel in Spanish.
Yes.
But again, and then you explain more, and it will be easier for people in Brazil to understand.
Yes.
All these codes, but I love it. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you everybody that are watching. If anybody wants to ask anything, just can find me in my Instagram and YouTube, and we can talk Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Thank you, and heart, and
telepathy.
And telepathy.
Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
In Lakesh. Thank you.
Thank you. In Lakesh.
This is the Rainbow Bridge Universal Peace Meditation. Before the meditation, it is good to take a few moments to clear your mind, dissolving all thoughts as they arise. Also focus on feeling love arise in your heart. When you feel your mind clear, then begin the visualization. Visualize yourself inside the Earth's octahedron crystal core. Feel your heart at the center of this crystal core, generating an intensely blazing point of white light. This light from your heart core creates an etheric column that extends to the north and south poles, from the blazing center to the tips of the octahedron. Now visualize a great stream of multicolored plasma-filled light emanating from your heart core and flowing along the central axis toward both of Earth's poles, shooting out from them to become two rainbow bands 180 degrees apart. As Earth revolves on its axis, this rainbow bridge remains steady and constant, unmoving. Feel the two streams of rainbow light rushing through your central column, shooting out from above head and beneath your feet to create a rainbow bridge around your body. Now you and the rainbow bridge are one. The rainbow bridge of world peace is real, visualized by enough people and a tap of love. The rainbow bridge will become a reality.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. In the flow, giving thanks for everybody showing up in the live chat in Lakesh, and gratitude for all of you. What a wonderful exchange with Flaviah today. Wow. So grateful to be able to bring that forward into this ceremony.
Yeah, so it's so amazing to hear the testimony of someone who have been embodying the codes, because that's what this information and this new body of wisdom is all about. It's not just to really it's not just to know mentally, but really to embody with more people, so that as Flavia says, time informs life, and in under that premise, everything just flows in accordance to a higher order, and that's we are just the connecting tissue between heaven and earth, and we are synchronized by something larger, something bigger, something greater, and becoming a vehicle for that energy, for that something greater, to bring heaven on earth is really amazing. And hearing someone live through that and creating a space to build community, to bring new children to the world, and children who never heard about the Gregorian calendar, they were 8 years old, and that they see Christmas as something not part of their lives is amazing. It's a testimony of what is possible. So we give thanks for having her testimony today.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure, maybe your mic is down a little bit there, Rubén. So I don't know, maybe if you want to speak up if possible a little bit. I think, I'm not sure.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds, go ahead and say something. Impromptu mic check.
Mic check.
Okay, yeah,
Better?
sounds good. Yeah, sounds a little more present. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you so much. And absolutely what you're saying, it's so true to be able to experience through her eyes and her heart just a touch of what a lived experience. I mean, she has many stories to share, no doubt. And so it's a true blessing to ground that today. So we're 134 days to the golden intersection of timelines as of now. So just wanted to make that conscious. And also we're sharing in the live chat with folks a link. We want you to, if you're so inclined, stay tuned with us, because as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the invitation to join us in Palenque is open. And in it being an open invitation, it really means we're putting the call out there to those that feel resonance with coming to Palenque for those dates and connecting. We've determined that we want to really do an offering and keep in the spirit of the ceremony that we initiated at the beginning of this effort to really make the entire offering accessible to everybody equally, so that we're really inviting those that can and want to travel to Palenque to be in person with us, to make that travel, to meet us there. And we'll be there in ceremony with community from there, which is going to be very transformative and very, very special. So we're truly looking forward to that. And at the same time, we're also inviting people, particularly in this crystal moon of cooperation. We want to really invite everybody to help us make conscious this window, this passage, this threshold of these few days, really initiating with tradition and veneration and honoring of Indigenous peoples worldwide relative to Indigenous Peoples Day in Turtle Island on the 13th of October, and the day before that, Dia de las Razas throughout Mexico and South America, Day of the Races, which has also been transmuted to great effect to uplift Indigenous communities and traditions and cultures. So we really want to make this conscious as centric to what's happening energetically, what's happening in the timeline. And so when we look at the fact that the Gregorian calendar itself is being intersected by 13 tunes of the traditional Mayan long count, that's no small thing. That's an adjustment. That is a course correction. That is a very well-timed intersection and intervention in relationship to our collective trajectory, if we really know what we're looking at here. So it's no small thing. And it's further amplified by the fact that the Gregorian calendar itself reaches a fractal of the golden ratio. Like, that's going to happen. We're in the process of that happening. So just making these things conscious is really what we're asking people to help us do, to make this conscious among our collective conscious body around the planet, activating and enlivening the noosphere as well as a result of that. So these next 100 plus days are very opportune for us to fine tune and tune in to the heart, really. And so just, again, give thanks for all of those who have been avidly making this journey together within themselves and together in relationship with us as we've been putting the pulse out there. I love that Flaviah said the word pulse in so many points in her interview. It was just, that's the action. That's what we're actually called to do, is we're called to pulse like the sun, the solar tone. Pulse, realize, intention. And I know both you and I embody the solar tone on the basis of our signatures.
Yes.
So, we can absolutely relate to that frequency of the pulse. And I look at the pulse as we need to take the pulse. You check for a sign of life. You take the pulse of something. You're checking for signs of life. And there's a lot of life here. So keeping with the pulse, we give great thanks.
Yeah, and to make conscious also that 134 days is almost half 260-day cycle. So we did a special episode when we started this 260-day countdown to the golden intersection. And there is an article also that we presented for that entrance. It's called Harmonic Entrance to the Golden Intersection of Timelines. So many layers of synchronicity guiding us towards this moment of convergence of timelines. So we will be sharing more about the activities, and we will put a program out. But for the moment, we just want to leave that invitation open so that people can have enough time. If you resonate with this call and you feel that call in your heart, we will see you there. And we will be very intentional also about the work that we are doing. It would be amazing to have people from the 5 continents there, like the full Earth hologram. So if you know people in your current location, if it's not in the US, if it's in Europe, if you're tuning from Asia or from Australia, please help us spread the word, because these are once in a lifetime or once in many lifetimes synchronization, and an opportunity like no other to really reframe the entire hologram into a harmonic version of reality, a version of reality based on the sacred rhythms and proportions of time. So we give thanks to the people from Palenque who said yes also to this call, and we will be sharing more in the coming episodes. The next episode, let's remember that on June 15 we will complete 73 years of the discovery of the tomb of Pakal Botan. So we will cover a little bit more about what that 73 cycle represents in terms of the prophecy and the openings that are taking place in preparation for this momentous event in October, Gregorian 14 and 15.
Absolutely. And we invite people to also stay tuned via the Facebook event page that we've created. That's a great way to stay tuned with everything as it's evolving in the ceremony and this global synchronization event. And again, we're really encouraging people to make a plan to get out into nature over those couple of days. At some point through that sequence of events, we certainly encourage you to tap into the natural world, really off the device, honestly, because at that point in time, you're going to be in ceremony. And usually in ceremony, any ceremonies I've known of, you're not really keeping your devices on you or even on or anywhere near you at that moment. You're really connecting in the heart and connecting with the presence, in this case, nature, connecting also really with the recognition that we're, in a way, in an echo, we're aligning as well with the center of the galaxy. And that's one of the aspects of fine-tuning over the next few moons, is to really fine-tune the frequency collectively, personally and planetarily wise, just in light of that. So making that conscious, and we'll look forward to also sharing with you, as you see on the screen, the graphics. As he mentioned, next episode, we'll really look more closely at the Temple of Inscriptions and some of these other relating aspects to what we see in the artwork and what we see really, before us. Phenomenal. Also with that, we also encourage folks to, if you haven't done it already, be sure to check out the petition. This is something that was launched October 14th in the year 2016. So by the time we do reach October 14th, 2025, that will be 9 literal years since the launch of this petition. And we had no idea about the golden intersection at that point. That didn't become clear to us until many years later. So remarkable, just this being part of the golden thread and sequence of events that we've been just, diligently tracking and really keeping a pulse about. So we really encourage you, if you haven't, please sign and share the petition. We know, it's just something we want to continue to get out there as far and as wide as possible, with a goal of reaching 144,000 signatures by October 14th. Yeah. So that's the intention, and we know we're going to continue to make that conscious and get the wave even more active around that. So we appreciate your support in this moon of cooperation to help us pulse that as well across your social channels and just raise awareness, because, this is a great conversation piece. Yeah. If you read the narrative there, it's certainly universal. And given the dynamics of the time, particularly in the 3D right now, this is certainly a perspective worth exploring in terms of making a decisive shift in consciousness relating to the way that we're navigating the 3D, 4D, and beyond. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and staying tuned with us in this offering this evening. And thank you again to our guest, Flaviah Motta, as well. Be sure to look her up. Her links and information can be found in the show notes. So please certainly check into what she's doing and send good energy for the work happening in Patagonia, for sure.
Yes, and also encourage people to go to lawoftime.org, get your galactic signature if you don't know it yet. If you are new to this, it's
that's where it all begins.
Yes.
It really does begin there. With the signature, literally. It begins with you knowing your own galactic signature.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful also aspect of the codes and the timing of everything, that we are entering this moon of cooperation, the 12th moon, and the moon of the golden intersection is going to be the electric moon of service, which is activating the service. So this bridge of coming together here in cooperation and activating that service for the golden intersection, it's really a beautiful window of 5 moons to come together, activate that fifth force, that quintessence energy that makes us unique, and that allows us to really tap into higher aspects of life and consciousness. So we give thanks to everyone tuning in. We see you on the next episode, episode 36. And if there is anything else you want to add, brother.
No, we give great thanks, and thank you, dear brother. And we give thanks to Alejandra as well for you all just anchoring this frequency and relational field right there where it matters. It's a very, very important task. Oh yeah, to also make conscious for those that do track the pulse calendar. Glad we're mentioning the word pulse again, but that is the calendar related to the sun's activation of the gene keys. So we happen to be in gene key 35. I know we mentioned it earlier, but it's worth mentioning again as we wrap up episode 35. Timing is perfect. So we give thanks for just recognizing that everything is in divine order. Okay?
Yeah.
Just don't take it personal. The sun is having its way with us. And we're going to just continue to ride that wave, but also ground that charge, as much as you can. Stay hydrated, ground that charge, and just love on each other, for sure. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right. Well, more meta. We give thanks for everybody out there. In Lakesh, y'all.
In Lakesh.
Alakim.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view. Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.